Yeah. Okay. Good morning, guys. I am Sai as a SAP consultant. I have 3+ years of experience in SAP ABAP and HANA in hands-on coding. I have knowledge of SD and MM flow. Let's get started. Today, I am going to show you what is the SAP ABAP and HANA syllabus in S4 HANA. So the content for ABAP development and HANA and OData on Fury also. We are covering OData and Fury also. So what we are covering like first session like HANA overview. Now next what is SAP HANA Studio, how to use the HANA Studio. So and as well as Eclipse ID also. So because HANA Studio it is not possible for all. So that's why we are going to Eclipse ID also. Now next SQL programming in HANA. Now next we are going to discussing about object oriented ABAP. So now next ABAP development and HANA. Now next we are going to discussing about open SQL enhancement in HANA and CDS in ABAP and HANA. Now next we are going to discussing about AMDP in ABAP and HANA. Now next ADBC in ABAP and HANA like ABAP database connectivities. So for an example, sometimes we are migrating to one database to another databases. So on that time, how to connect it into the HANA database by using ADBC. Now next we are going to discussing about ALV IDA in ABAP and HANA. Now next OData services. What is the OData services and Fury apps? How to create a Fury apps? All those things. Now next we are going to discussing about overview of migration to S4 HANA. Now next we are going to discussing about how to optimize existing the programming in ABAP and HANA. So now there are sub concepts. So HANA overview in the first session. So what is SAP and HANA? Why SAP HANA? What is S4 HANA? What is SOH like suit on HANA? What is the suit on HANA versus S4 HANA? HANA landscape design and HANA architecture and overview. Now next what is main care and side care, SAP HANA accelerations, and we are going to discussing about column store and row store. It's the most important in HANA database. So now next in SAP HANA Studio like Eclipse ID, what is HANA Studio and Eclipse ID tools and how to install the SAP HANA Studios and Eclipse ID, how to add the tools in Eclipse like third party tools, all those things like ADT, ABAP development toolkits, and now next to perspectives and views. Now next schema catalog, what is the schema catalogs and contents and provisionings in HANA database. So now next we are discussing about SQL programming in HANA. In ABAP also we are going to doing some SQL programmings as well as HANA database also following some SQL concepts like data types, operations, expressions, functions, all those things. Now next we are going to discussing about object oriented ABAP, most important in HANA development. So what is class and object and instance and components of classes? What is the difference between the local class and global class? There are different types of instance and visibility of components. What is the class constructions and constructors, statics, instant attributes and methods. So and methods using how to using the importing and exporting parameters or tables and written parameters and different types of interfaces versus classes. uh, Now next our real-time scenario is starting a web development on HANA. So the most important concept in HANA is the first concept. So introduction to the ABAP on HANA and evaluation of architecture, OpenSQL, native SQL. What is the difference between the OpenSQL and native SQL? So what is going on in OpenSQL? What is going on in native SQL? How to convert into the OpenSQL to the native SQL? We'll discussing about that thing. And now next, what is code to data paradigms? So some absolute syntaxes and new statements and tables in S4HANA and various tools for SAP ABAP and HANA in the part of ABAP development and HANA. So now next, new age of open SQL enhancement in HANA, like inline declarations, documentation, new joins and types of joins and expressions, and ABAP objects, database access, and aggregation functions, literals, client handlings, all those things. Now next, the most important concept is CDS in ABAP and HANA, like core data services. What is CDS? Why CDS? ABAP CDS versus HANA CDS. What is the difference between the ABAP CDS and HANA CDS? I think most of the faculties in Amirpet or Hyderabad, anywhere, they don't want to teach ABAP CDS, but I am ready to give ABAP CDS also. So now next to data to code versus code to data. There are different types of CDS views there. I will discussing later. Now next, annotations in CDS and CDS with joins, parameters, extensions, and table functions. Now next, consuming CDS views in ABAP program, how to use that CDS views in ABAP program. Now next, AMDP in ABAP and HANA. What is AMDP? Why AMDP? So there are different types of approaches, like top to bottom approaches, bottom to top approaches. How to creating the AMDP in HANA. Now next, consuming the AMDP in ABAP and HANA. Now next, how to debugging that AMDP. So now next, ADBC in ABAP and HANA. What is the ADBC? Like ABAP database connectivities. Why ADBC? Creation of the database connections, access to the consuming the data into the ABAP program. So I will show you the real time. So now next, ALB in ABAP and HANA, like ABAP list views. So in this scenario, we are going to discussing about introduction to the ALV IDA. Now next, ALV with parameters, ALV with selection options, ALV with field catalog, ALV with total and subtotals, ALV with sorting. I think in ABAP also the same concepts is there, but in this ABAP and HANA, the most of the times is same, but the coding is a little bit changed. We are reducing the code and performance also. So performance also increasing. Now next, OData services. So in OData services, we are going to discussing about what is OData, how it's working OData, what is the purpose of OData, why we need the OData, like introduction and architecture, creating of entities and entity types, how to runtime artifacts like DPC and MPC classes. So deep entity creations, how to function importing, and how to providing the service creations. So how to working with the curd queue operation, like a create, read, update, delete, and query operations. Now next, Fury. What is Fury and what is SAP Fury? SAP Fury app library, Fury launching pad configuration and catalogs, groups and tiles, PFCG roles, consuming the CDS view into the query browsers. So we'll discussing about apps, how to create an apps in Fury. Now next, the most important point is migration to the S4 HANA. If you want to put some experience, you need to know about migration to the HANA, because we are using the ECC systems now. The next couple of years, it will be converting to the ECC to S4 HANA. And that time we need to migrate into the old system to new system. So that's why you have to know about migration to the S4 HANA. For an example, what we teach, like a technical prerequisites for migration to the S4 HANA. There are different steps is there, like steps and activities during the migration to the S4 HANA. We are using some tools, process, and detailed step, and ABAP role after migration, what's activities. So how to optimize the existing programs in ABAP and HANA, we'll discussing later.